Hi, I'm Ted Enos, President and CEO of Certrec, and I wanted to talk with you a little bit about 7 ways to manage your regulatory risk. I've been involved in licensing of power plants, the very first one in the 70s, some more in the 80s, and then up in the 2000s, all kinds of different ones. And sitting down looking at lessons learned, we've talked about a lot of things that could be done better if we had to do over with. One that always seems to come to mind is control systems. As the project begins to develop, in silos and different parts of the organization set up over here, and they set their controls and tracking systems, and this part engineering does theirs over here and all that. And then when we get down to the point that we're starting to think about, hey, we got to build this licensing submittal and get a license. Now the regulatory affairs people start putting together a program to build the actual operating license application. And now the project is being controlled 6, 7, 8 different places, different vendors, different control systems, different tracking systems. So the regulatory affairs people will typically put together their own control system to monitor, track, and schedule the development of the application. But now the information that they need and when they're going to get it is actually controlled in some other control system, so they're constantly going to someone else asking them for information. Then the ultimate inefficiency creeps in. The regulatory affairs people will start adding tracking items into their tracking system to tell them that the item that they need is actually being tracked in some other tracking system. So what we find is that at about that point in time, it's really a good idea to try to consolidate down to one control system, everything being tracked to a single schedule. It makes the project much more efficient and much easier to get that application completed. So to sum that up, simplify your control system. Get one system, one schedule that controls everything. So the number 2 thing, and maybe actually it should be number 1 because I really think it's probably one of the biggest risks, is having a well-defined schedule that's real and live. As interesting as it may sound, one of the things that we've seen a lot of projects have difficulty with is schedule. They've got things scheduled out. This is going to be done by this time. This is going to be done by this time. This is going to be done by this time. But they've never really sat down and looked at, hey, if I have to be complete, if I have to submit on this date, when do things actually really have to be done? So you have to go backwards in that schedule to find out when things have to be complete to support that actual schedule date. Now, I'm an engineer, so I can make fun of engineers. We will work on something forever. We can always make it better until someone comes along and says, lay the pen down, hand it in, you're done, we'll keep working on it. So once that schedule's developed, someone has to be sort of a schedule enforcer. This is overdue, you got to get it, I want it. If you don't, we're going to go up the ladder, you got to force people to work to the schedule. Because every day you slip here means you've got to either make it up somewhere else or you're going to miss that deadline in the end. So make sure you got a schedule working from submittal date backwards so that you know when everything has to be done and you've got someone enforcing it. This leads me into number 3. Extreme attention's got to be paid to the electronic processing of the application. I've seen this time and time again. We think, okay, we've got to do design, we've got to do all of this, we've got to do this, and all of these things have to happen. Oh, by the way, we're just about ready to go, so run somebody in with some computers and some word processing, and let's get this thing done. That will not work. We think that we're designing a new nuclear reactor, but actually what we're designing is a license application, a document that exactly describes the new reactor that has to go to the regulator, be reviewed and approved. So really our focus has to be from the very beginning building that electronic document for submittal. So word processing, how we do all of this, writer's guides, style guides, formatting guides, technical reviews, all of that sort of stuff has to be thought of way early in the process. Procedures, process controls have to be established. You really need a single person in charge of the electronic processing. That's just what they do. They're going to manage all of this because, believe me, it is a tremendous exercise to get that application exactly right so it will be accepted by submittal. So don't forget, number 3, get some attention onto that electronic document. At the beginning of a project, there's lots of excitement and lots of people and everybody wants to be involved in everything that's going on. And that leads to kind of number 4 in my list of risk, something that we've seen happen repeatedly. We're going to have this person write it, then they're going to have a peer review, and then the supervisor is going to review it, and then the manager is going to review it, and then the licensing engineer is going to review it, and then the licensing manager is going to review it, and then it's going to go to the review team, and then it's going to go to the team that reviews everything from the review team, and then it's going to go to the manager's subcommittee, and then it's going to the management review team, and ultimately to the vice president. And if there's anything wrong, it goes all the way back around that loop again. So you can eat up a tremendous amount of time in review and approval. Need the right reviews, but get that tight. Every time you put a review step in the process, think about it. Do I really need that review? A review takes time. Time equals schedule. Schedule equals money. So 4, get tight on your review and approval process. I remember one time when I was much younger and living out in Little Rock, and we were all quite a bit younger then. And after work, it wasn't uncommon for us to all go down to Shakey's Pizza. You may have heard of Shakey's. I don't think they're around anymore. They had pizza and fried chicken and ice cold pitchers of iced tea, I think it was. I'm not sure. It had some white foam on top. I remember they had this cute little sign on the wall. I remember exactly what it says. It says, Shakey's have made a deal with the bank. They won't make pizzas and we won't cash checks. Well, now, of course, that was a clever way of telling the customers that Shakey's didn't accept checks. But you can think about it a little bit differently. They also made an agreement with the bank that the bank would do what they're good at doing, cashing checks, and Shakey's would do what they're good at, making pizzas. So we need to be mindful of that. Your organization is probably not expert at everything that has to go on in developing this license application. So look for those people that you can bring in or that you can partner with that are experts in that area. Don't reinvent a wheel. Go get someone that's already got a good wheel, make them a partner and use that. So number 5, focus your resources on your business and design and your core competencies. Outsource, go get help on those things that are not. Well, the 6th thing I always think about is communication. Communication is an integral part of any project, any endeavor, and it's usually one that we have the most difficulty with because it's difficult to control. In a project, new reactor project, license application, of course, we've got multiple vendors scattered out all over the country. We've got our own people are probably scattered out all over the country. Of course, we've got regulators in different locations and inspections and those types of things. Stakeholders, local organizations, local stakeholders, financial people, everybody wants to be involved and everybody wants to know what's going on. It's imperative that you have a communications plan, a documented, detailed communications plan which says who talks to who, what kind of information they pass along, and how you get information approved before it's released. Also controls that information doesn't get released before it has been reviewed and approved. So 6, make sure you've got controls on your communication with all the different people involved. Manage your external communications. The 7th area of risk is just how are we going to tie all of these people together and let them communicate and work and exchange documents and draft and create. If everyone out there is using a different electronic system, if we're having to VPN using this proprietary system over here, but these guys have to go use a company laptop because it's got uber security on it, we're tying everyone's hands and we're impacting schedule every time they go through an inefficiency. You need to get a single control system. I mentioned that earlier. It needs to be web-based, not proprietary, something that works for everyone. You don't have to control the computers. You don't have to do anything special. You just sit down and go to work wherever you are. Extremely important. We've seen this on one of the recent SMR projects. They were a completely distributed workforce from the first draft of their application to the electronic submittal of all of their REIs, working on a single web-based secure system. So don't get yourself tied down with proprietaries and all of that kind of stuff where you have to control all your computers. Use a good web-based secure system. Number 7, don't get yourself tied down with proprietary systems. There's some really good stuff out there that works on the web, well and secure and proven. So that's my 7 risks at the regulatory process on a new license application. We've seen a lot of this over the years with all the different projects that we've worked on. So give us a call. Let us discuss how we can help empower you to empower the world.